everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's Jo here. I hope you're all well. If you're new here, I'm Jo. I do craft videos. I usually do 3 a week on Monday, Wednesdays and Fridays. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you leave a comment, I will reply. And if you've not subscribed and you want to see more from me, then it'd be wonderful if you joined our family and friends. If you're returning, as always, my friends, thank you for your continued support. I'm absolutely loving being so creative at the moment, and every day is a joy to get up and just sit down and do some crafting. So thank you so much for your continued support and watching my videos. It really does mean the world to me. So for today's project, I wanted to make a 3-tier stand using cardboard, and I'll show you how I made it. So I'm going to be using some of the cardboard rings that I picked up from Asda. These were in between the pans on the shelves to stop them from touching each other, and there was a few left over to the side where people had bought pans and just left them on the shelves. And I asked a member of staff if I could take some, and she said yeah, that's fine. So I grabbed about 10, but I keep going in to check to see if they've got any more, and they're ideal for this. But I will show you how to make this without these cardboard hoops, so you can still make them if you can't get hold of any. And then I'm also using an old cardboard box, which I'll be using for different sections of the stand. The first thing I'm going to do is just draw around the outside of the hoop, and then I'm going to cut this out with a pair of scissors, and I'm going to do 6 of them in total. So I've got my 6 circles, and I'm going to glue these into pairs so that we've got 3 in total. And this box was ideal because it was mostly brown, except from a little bit which I've just shown you with the black, and I'm just going to glue that on the inside so you can't see it. I'm going to be covering these anyway, so it doesn't particularly matter, but I'm just keeping them nice and neat. And here are my 3 circles. So I'm going to glue my hoops to the bases in a minute. But what you could do if you've not got these hoops is you could use a piece of card, not a cardboard box because it's too thick, but A4 white card, cut a few strips and glue them together would be ideal to the height that you want, and then just glue them around a circle bit of card and it'll give you the same effect. So my bases are now stuck to my hoops, and before moving on to decorating the inside, I'm going to take my sanding block and I'm just going to sand the cardboard around the bottom to make sure that it's nice and neat. We will be covering this so it doesn't particularly matter, but if you want to do this and you haven't got any sandpaper, you could use nail files or emery boards and you'd get the same effect. For the inside of my hoops, I'm going to be using some placemats that I got from a charity shop. I got 2 for £1, and they're like a vinyl material, and these are going to be ideal because I want to be able to wipe it out if I'm putting my makeup in it, in case any of it spills. But you could use sticky back plastic if you wanted to have something that was a bit better than paper or card on the inside. I'm going to draw around a circle on the inside and cut 3 of them out, and then these are going to be glued into the bottom like so. The circles are now secured in the bases, and I'm just measuring the height of the inside, and I'm going to cut strips out of the placemat and glue them in also. Now I'm going to measure around the outside 6 times, and I'm going to measure around the inside 3 times with the rope, and I'm actually going to cover this in twine. You don't have to do this, you could use anything that you want to finish it off. You could just use rope that you've bought that's the right colour. I saw some and it was £3, and I thought, well, I've got the twine and I've got rope at home, so I'm just going to wrap it instead of spending the money. But you could use anything, you could use ribbon, anything just to hide the joints of the cardboard and everywhere that we've glued together. So what I normally do is I just glue it at the top, and then I start to wrap it round, and I hold it in my fingers like so, and then I just twist it until I get to the bottom. Nice and easy, it doesn't take that long, and I just do it while I'm watching TV. So I'm going to do all the pieces, and once that's done we can get on to the next part. Now that I have my 9 pieces of rope covered, I'm going to start on the inside, and I'm going to make sure that the joins is at the front so that when we're looking at the finished piece, you won't be able to see the inside joins. And I'm just cutting off the excess rope, and I'm going to glue that in place with hot glue. before I stick the rope on the outside, we need to decorate it in whatever we're going to decorate it in. I'm using this gift wrap paper. I think I paid £2 for it for a few meters, and this is what I'm going to be using. So I'm going to cover the bottom of the base with glue stick and then glue it to the paper and then cut it out, and I'm going to do this with all 3 sections. Once the underneath is covered, I'm going to cut out strips to go around the outside, and then I'm going to use glue stick to glue these in place. I'm going to make sure that everything's facing the way that I want it to face. So I want the joins of the inside facing me, and I want the join of the outside at the back. Now all the bases are covered. There are some little bits where it's a bit crinkled, but we're going to be covering quite a lot of it, and then you can just put these sections to the back. But I'm just going to trim off any bits at the bottom. And now I'm going to start to glue my rope around the outside. So I'm going to glue them around the base like so, and then I'm going to glue a section around the top as well. Once I'd glued all my pieces on, I decided I wanted to add some more. It wasn't looking right. I think it was because the bit at the bottom is on the outside and the bit at the top is right on top, so it doesn't come out as far as the bit at the bottom. So I'm going to measure quickly 3 more pieces of rope. I'm going to cover them in twine and then glue them around the top, just so that I'm a little bit happier with it. I'm glad I added the extra rope. I'm much happier with how it's looking. And for the base, I'm using 3 Christmas decorations that I got from Poundland. There's only 3 of the same colour. I would have preferred to have 4, but 3 will have to do. So I'm just taking off the top bit, and then I'm going to use a Stanley knife or craft knife to cut off the bit that's sticking out so that it's flat. And then we're going to glue them in place. I'm going to glue 2 at the front and 1 at the back in the centre. So in the centre, I'm going to be using a bit of an old embroidery frame that I no longer use. You could use the end of an old brush if you're getting rid of one, or you can buy poles from B&Q and Wix. And I'm just going to hold this and place my other one roughly how high I want it, and then mark on the wood, and it worked out roughly about 12 centimetres. So I'm going to mark 2 pieces at 12 centimetres, and then I'm going to cut them to size. Now this is where things got a little bit interesting. So if you're not using like vinyl, you'll be fine. If you're only using paper to cover these, you'll be absolutely fine. But I've only ever stuck this down as like a base. I've never stuck this stuff to itself, and it doesn't stick. It just melts and then pulls away. So this wasn't ideal for covering these, but this matched the base, so I ended up just persevering until it worked. So I also ended up with a other problem, but because the hot glue melts this stuff, when I tried gluing it into the center, it just came out and made a hole. And I thought about cutting a hole before I glued it in, and I thought no, it'll be fine, and then I ended up taking it off and then having to make a circle in the center. So depending on what you're using will determine if you have to do this or not. But here you can see I've just cut out the center using a craft knife, and then I've just glued the center bit in the center. Then I'm going to cut a hole in the paper just to make life a little bit easier in case the same thing happens, and I'm going to glue that on the top. Now this isn't going to be very secure until we put the cardboard around the edge. I don't have a drill. I'm waiting for a hand drill to come through the post. So ideally screwing these to each other would have been a lot better. But once we add the card around the outside, it gets rid of all that problem anyway. So to create the outside frame and the handle, I'm taking a bit of a cardboard box, I'm holding it at the base of our 3 tiers and just marking it at the top so I know the height that I need to cut. And for the width of the handle, I'm going to do 5 centimeters. Now I'm going to measure out 4 pieces at the height that we need and 5 centimeters wide. Now that we have our 4 pieces, we need to create the section in the center. This is supposed to be A4 card, it's more like paper. So I'm going to measure 5 centimeter wide strips that are the length of the paper. I'm going to do about 6, cut them out, and I'm going to try and find some other card from somewhere so I can put it in between, because this is really thin, but we need it to bend in a perfect arch in the center, like so at the top. I managed to find the last bit of thin card that I have, so I'm going to cut 2 pieces the same size as the paper, and I'm going to add these into the center once I've glued all these together. So all the pieces of paper and the thin white card is glued together, and we're going to create our handle. So I'm just going to add my hot glue at the end of one of the pieces of the box, and then about 1 inch I'm going to glue the card in between the 2 pieces of box. I'll do the same to the other side, so that it will bend like so, and then I'm just going to glue the rest of the cardboard to each other on each side. Once everything's glued and dried, I'm going to cover it in the same paper that we did the bases. So the 2 bits of the dark brown cardboard is going to be glued to the side of the bases, and then the white card in the center is going to be the handle bit once it's all in place. I cut the paper into 2 pieces and glued them from the center, and I glued them so that they would face the right way once it was stood up. And now we get the fun part of gluing the handle to the bases. If there's 2 of you, this would be a lot easier. I'm not going to do this on camera, I'm going to do it off camera. And like I said, the section of white card that's in the center, the bit that bends, is going to be at the top, and then we're going to glue the thicker card to either side of the bases all the way down to the bottom. There was probably an easier way of making that, but this was the only way that I could get the arch that I wanted at the top. And now that everything's glued together, it's nice and sturdy, and we can get on to decorating it. I've done 2 strips of rope in the twine. I did it while I was watching TV, and now I'm just going to glue that around the edge at the front all the way around, and I'm going to do it at the edge at the back as well. Everything is stuck down and I'm really happy with how it's looking, and now I get to add my favourite bit, which is the flowers. Now I'm not going to show you how I did the flowers, just because when I was filming this I had about 3 hours worth of filming, and I knew that I wanted to try and make it as short as possible. So all I did was I used some of the flowers that I get from my local market that I pay £1 for, and I did the same bit on all 3 bases, and then I did the same at the top as well to decorate. I start off with my green leaves, and then I added a white flower and a bit of green gypsy grass to finish it off. Made sure that each one was exactly the same, and I'll show you what it looks like once it was done with the flowers. Here they are, all the same, and I'm really happy with it. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some of these decorated stickers. These are like little photo frames or picture frames, and these are from Poundland, so I'm going to add them on and we're finished. And here is the finished piece. So I'm absolutely over the moon with it. I love how the vinyl looks on the inside. It kind of looks like metal, and I've just added a few of the photo frame stickers to the outside on each side where there isn't any flowers to hide the handle where we glued it in place. And I did notice when I was filming this that you can see the white sticky bit in between the picture frames, so I'm going to just paint that with a little bit of light brown paint at a later date. But I hope you've enjoyed the video, guys. I really enjoyed this, and yeah, it was supposed to be a quick craft for Wednesday and it took me days. So I will see you tomorrow for a Poundland haul. So take care, love you loads, and have a wonderful evening. Bye for now.